Hello and welcome here to Talk SCB, and welcome back to another video here on the channel today. And once again we're talking transfers, and we're going to be going through some very interesting speculation that arose this morning and a possible shock return for Barcelona for Pedro. That is the story that's coming out this morning. Pedro Rodriguez has come out and spoken to the press, and he has openly admitted that he is looking and is very interested in making a shocking return to the Camp Nou. Now, the reason it's so shocking is because 1 year ago, to the day really, in the summer of last summer, he moved to Chelsea from Barca. He made 27 league appearances for Chelsea, scoring just 7 goals. A disappointing season for Chelsea in general. Pedro is in and out of the team, and he now decides that he wants to return to Barcelona, the club where he has played since 2007 at Barcelona B. He's been at Barcelona, the youth academy, since 2004, and he left Barca in 2015 after a long career there to move to Chelsea, and now he wants to return. And I, for one, think it's fantastic. I really do. And a lot of people will come here and they'll say Pedro now is 28 years old. He'll be 29 by the start of the new season, and that he's not really the player that we need. But this is the player that understands Barcelona. This is a player that understands his role. Now, he left Barcelona in 2015 to join Chelsea because he wanted first-team football. He wanted the feeling of being the man who plays every game once again. That didn't quite happen at Chelsea. He was in and out of the team there as well. But I think he's gone to Chelsea. He's tested the Premier League. He's tested himself in a different country. And now he feels like, you know what, I've experienced that. I've gone there. I've achieved that. I've tried my best, but I really prefer home, and I prefer to go back to Barcelona, and that's what he feels in himself. Now, of course, it's very early days. This is the very first that we've heard of it. It was quite a shock to sort of see these reports emerge, because until now there'd been no rumours at all in the papers over Pedro. So he's really kept this one quiet. The media haven't got a hold of it at all. But certainly Pedro is interested in a move back to Barcelona, and you can understand why. He left a club that he'd been at, like I say, since 2004. He'd been at the Barcelona system. He came up through the youth academy in the younger teams at Barcelona. He made his Barcelona B debut in 2007. He made 55 appearances in 2 years for Barcelona B, working his way up, 17 goals. Then, of course, when Pep Guardiola came in 2008, he was promoted to the first team and had an absolutely sensational opening season at Barcelona, securing the treble, and then went on to make over 200 league appearances for the club, scoring 58 league goals. And he's a player that's very established at Barcelona. He's very well appreciated by the Barcelona fans in Barcelona. Every single time I've gone to the stadium, whenever Pedro has come on or whenever Pedro has gone off the field, no matter how he's played, they've always appreciated him. They've always greeted him with a fantastic applause. And this is a player that they understand. They feel like he's one of our own, and he's a player that really does give everything on the pitch as well. He's a hard worker. He scores goals, he makes assists, he makes runs, and you only have to look at his contribution in his final season here, Luis Enrique's first year, the year that we won the treble in, to realise what sort of impact he could have on this team and what sort of player he could be in the current system with Messi, Suarez, Neymar, because he knows now that he's not going to be guaranteed a starting place, and I think if he comes back he would understand that even more. And I think for a certain extent he's quite happy with that. As long as he's in this team, as long as he's successful, he doesn't mind playing a bit part role. And certainly last season he could have had a lot of games had he stayed, and I'm sure he regrets leaving and joining Chelsea. But like I say, he's gone there now, he's experienced that, and he'll understand now that coming back he'll have to adapt, and he'll have to understand that he's not going to be the first choice. And I think Pedro would do that. I think he's in a position now that he would want to do that. Now, if I just read out some quotes from the interview in which he did reveal all, if you like, he really did go all out this morning in a lot of papers. They've now reported this interest that he wants to return home, and he didn't really beat about the bush. He came out and he said it as it is, and this was after Spain's opening victory at the Euros against the Czech Republic. He said to be in sport, he said, hopefully I can return to Barcelona, but I know it's hard. He said, I've already spoken about it with the club president Bartomeu when we were in Barcelona, and also at the cup final which he attended at Atletico Madrid at the Vicente Calderon a few weeks ago when we beat Sevilla in the Copa del Rey final. He said we spoke at the cup final, and he's also spoke to all the people who also want me back, which is very, very interesting. He went on to say, it's complicated, but I've always said that I would like to retire at Barcelona. However, I realise that it's difficult because as the years go by, the club has the very, very best players in the world, and it's a very demanding club, and the return can be complicated. But he said, I do not rule it out. So clearly Pedro wants to return. He's told the president that, he's told the Barcelona people that, but he's also conceded that it might be difficult, having said that Barcelona go after the very, very best players in the world, and they may now not be interested in Pedro returning. But I think possibly we will be. And I think it all depends on Chelsea, though. It all depends on Chelsea, because we sold Pedro for quite a low fee, £22 million it worked out as. That was a release clause in his contract due to him not playing as many matches as his contract said that he would. It all now depends on how much Chelsea want to hit for him, how much they want in terms of his transfer fee, how much Pedro wants in terms of wages, because of course this summer we are in the market for a forward player, and we are in the market for somebody who can come in and replace Messi, Suarez or Neymar. Who better than the man in the 2014-15 season who did it expertly? He came in when we needed him, he scored goals, he scored crucial goals. You look at the game against Real Sociedad at the Camp Nou, that fantastic overhead kick, even as far as the Champions League final where he only came on for a few minutes, yet he's still got an assist in the last few seconds for that Neymar goal. Pedro will always give his all, he'll always work hard, he's a player that will not need time to adapt. He's coming into a club that he knows inside out, he understands the system, he understands the style of play, he knows the club, he knows the people, he can speak the language. He's not somebody who's coming from the broad league, he's not somebody who's going to cost an absolute fortune in either a transfer fee or wages. I would debate that Chelsea would want about 15 million for Pedro. I think they'd be quite happy not to get rid of him, because I think the Chelsea fans admire his work rate, they admire what he tried to do. He didn't have a dreadful season last season, he scored 7 goals, but in terms of Chelsea in general, it wasn't the best season that they've ever had. So I think Chelsea would probably want about £15 million. I don't think Pedro would demand a lot in wages. I think he'd probably take what he was on before he left, and I think that would be a great signing for us, because you're looking at Kevin Romero, he'd be about £15 million, he'd be about 20 million euros. You look at other strikers like Nolito, he'd be around the same price, and I think if we go and get Pedro, people will say, his form last season was inconsistent, but like I say, you've got to look at the last but one season that he had with us. You've got to look at that remaining season that we won the treble. You have to look at that and say, he's the best opportunity, he's the best player to come in and play that role of replacement forward, because he's not going to come in and demand that he's starting, because he knows now that's not the case. He's happy to accept that, and that's very, very important as well. He's not somebody who's going to come in and demand minutes. He's not somebody who's going to come in and upset the dressing room. He's somebody that's going to come in and understand his role. He knows Luis Enrique very well. He got on very well with Luis Enrique. They understood each other. He gets on very, very well with all the players in the dressing room. He's a very good player. He gets on well. And I think as well, he actually combines very, very well with a lot of our players. He combines well with Iniesta. He combines well with Jordi Alba, because he's had so much experience playing alongside these players. And I think Pedro, I have to be honest, would be a really, really good signing. I didn't think for 1 second that we'd be considering him this summer, because I simply didn't think that he'd be leaving Chelsea. But what I would say about that is I did a video in January, if you go back and have a look on the channel in January, where I did ask people, do we want to reconsider Pedro as a signing? Because in January he was linked with us, there was a few links with us in the press that he would possibly returning in January for a fee. That didn't go through, but it appears now that he was at the cup final. It was said at the time that he was watching us, that he came to watch the club in the cup final, that was all. But now we can see that he was meeting with the president, he was meeting with people within the club about a possible return. So like I say, nothing is set in stone. No talks as of yet with Chelsea have taken place, so there's still a lot to do on this deal. Pedro himself was just saying, I want to return. There's no deal on that yet. We're going to have to see what happens in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Pedro at the moment is focusing on the European Championships with Spain, so nothing is done yet. But what I want to know, guys, of course, as always, is what you think. What do you think about Pedro? Well, like I say, he's a player that knows the club, he's a player that won't cost a fortune, but of course he is going into the latter stages now of his career. Should we go for somebody younger and paying more money, or should we go with somebody that we know can deliver, that we know can understand their role within the club, and that we know can successfully replace Messi, Suarez and Neymar when we need it? So leave your thoughts down below on Pedro's possible return to the club. I, for one, think it's a good idea. I, for one, like Pedro as a person, as a player. I like everything he's given to the club, and I think the fans would receive it really, really well as well. It would be a big homecoming. It would be a nice moment for him, a nice moment for the club, and I, for one, if it's affordable, if it's good value for us, I would go for him. So leave your thoughts down below, guys. Very, very interested to hear those, what you think. I will see you very, very soon, as always. If there's any more news, any more stories, I will be bringing them to you right here. So stay tuned for that. I will see you very, very soon. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.